Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this SQL tutorial part 1 video, I'm going to be going through how to set your SQL environment up in your local machine and then how to start writing code. I'm going to go through how to download and install SQL and SQL Server Management Studio where you're going to be writing your code. Then I'm going to go through how to create a new database and then how to take some raw data Excel files which I'm going to provide and input them in your database. And then we're going to go through the select query and the select query with where clauses. And then at the end, I'm going to go through some subqueries. Right. Please bear in mind that this is just part 1. I will be sharing a part 2 and a part 3 video later on. Okay, so to download SQL Server now, all you have to do is go to Google and type in SQL Server download. I will also have a link at the description. You click on the first link and then you click here where it says download free trial, and then you want to fill in this information. It doesn't have to be the right data. This has to be number, company name, whatever, role, an analyst, and country. I'm just going to put UK, United Kingdom. Click submit. Click submit. Please provide a valid email address, so it has to be like whatever. Right, there we go. And then click download now, and then and then here you want to click on keep, and then you double click here, you click yes, and then it's going to start. No, we want to click basic here, the package. You want to click read the rules, and then we click accept, select the place you want to save it, and then click install. And it's going to start installing. I'm just going to pause the video now until it finishes. Right, as soon as the installation finishes, you're going to see a window like this, which is giving us some basic information around our SQL Server we've just installed. So we get the instance name, the administrators, features, install, and then the version. So I'm just going to quickly snip this window because I want to show you something later on when we use these details to connect with our database. So the next thing we want to do is click here when it says where it says install SSMS, which is basically the SQL Server Management Studio, and it's going to take us to this website where we want to click download SQL Server Management Studio 18.2. So we click download and then we want to click run. Again, I'm just going to pause the video until this finishes. Right, so as soon as the download finishes, you want to click on run. And then it's asking you if you want to allow this app to make changes. You click yes. And then here is where we want to click install. Right, so as soon as the installation finishes, what you want to do is that you want to go to start and type in SQL. And then you want to launch the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio 18, which is the one we've just installed. It shouldn't take too long. Right, so we see this window now, and it's asking us to which server name we want to connect to. This is going to be the server name with just the one we've installed. There's the SQL Server here, and it's going to be the SQL Server 07. I'm using 01 just because it's the one it's the database I'm using. If you can't see anything here, what you want to do is click the drop down arrow here and click here where it says browse for more, and under database engines here you will be able to find, if you expand this, you will be able to find the server, the one the instance name you've just created. Here you can see I have 7 because it's probably the amount of times I've done this until I get the video right. This is why I have so many. But anyway, I'm going to connect to 01 because it's where I have my database, but you should connect to the one you've just created. Right, so now here on the top left is where I can see the server I'm connected to. And under databases, if I expand this, is where I can see the number of databases that I have in my server. If this is the first time you're using it, you're probably not going to have any data here. This is why we need to create a new database. Just before we create a new database, I want to show you that within the databases, so if I expand this transactional test 2, I can see the tables and the views. So if I expand tables, I can see the number of tables I have. And then I can use those tables to write queries and transform, clean, manipulate the data based on those tables. I'm just showing you this because this is where you're going to have to go to find your company's data if they already have a server and if they already have tables. Right. So now we want to create a new database. To create a new database, all you have to do is right click on the server, on the databases, right click and click new database. And then here, database name, you want to give a name to your database. I'm just going to name it as YouTube DB, YouTube database, and click OK. You can name it whatever you want. And here is where you're going to see this new database. If we expand this new database and check our tables, there is nothing versus this one, for example, just because we don't have any tables or any raw data in our database just yet. So what we have to do now, what we want to do now is that we want to input raw data in our database. So I'm going to have a link in the description, which is going to take you to my GitHub repository where you can download. Here I have a calendar, an opportunities table, and an account lookup. So I have three tables. These are CSV Excel files where you can download, and I'm going to be using these three files to show you the queries. And I'm going to use these three files now to input them in my SQL database. Right, so in order to input those raw data files into our database now, we want to right click here where it says YouTube DB, go to tasks, and then click on import flat file. Here is where we need to specify the location. So we want to click browse, and then you're going to go and find the downloads from the website I've shown you. So you can download it and then you can select it from here. I'm going to start with the calendar, click open. And on here is asking me what do I want to name this table. So I'm just going to name it as YouTube calendar lookup. Click next. Here is where I can preview the data, so I can actually visualize the data before I bring it in. So I can see I have a lot of information, a lot of columns that give information about the calendar. Then I want to click next. And here is where it's asking us what data type is each column going to be. So what do we mean by that? So as we can see, if I go back again, previews, this column is a date. This column is the day name, so it has characters. This column has numbers. So what it's asking me is what do you want me to map all these columns? So just to quickly go over the options we have, I'm going to bring this here. So varchar is basically variable character, and then brackets the number of characters you can fit in this variable. Is you can use this for characters basically, and you cannot apply aggregated functions if you cast your column as varchar. This means that obviously you can't just sum the characters. Like if you have a column that has the names of the days, as in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I cannot really sum or average Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Nvarchar now is the same as varchar, but it's allowing you some special characters like the percentage sign or the dollar sign. So nvarchar is always safer to use than varchar, just in case you have any special characters in your data. Again, you need to make sure that you leave enough space, enough characters, so the whole column is going to fit. Because, for example, if you put nvarchar two characters and the day name is Monday, it's only going to take mo in it, so mo is not going to fit the whole Monday. So make sure you leave enough space. Float is basically for numbers with decimal values. So here you can apply calculations, so sum, average, min, max, and all the calculations. Integer is for numbers without any decimal places, but I always use float just to be on the safe side. And the date is for dates. Right, let me move this back quickly. Back to the data type. So I want my date to be date. I want my day name to be varchar, but I'm going to put 250. I always put 250 just to be safe. Day number, I'm going to leave it tiny int, small int. I'm just going to put integer in all of these ones just to be safe. So small int and tiny int is where you have like columns with like two or three characters and it's numbers. So it's saving them as tiny or small int because it's saving space. But I just want to leave it as int just to be safe. Then I want weekday to be date. And the rest I want them to be nvarchar. You can just literally copy paste exactly what I have and then click on allow null values just in case we have any null values in it. next, and then I want to click finish. So it says it's successful. Then I close this. Now if I refresh my database, so I click refresh, go on the tables, I can see my calendar here. So if I want to visualize the data, I can quickly right click and select the top 1000 rows, and it's auto creating this query, and I can visualize the data, so I can see the data I came in correctly. Right, I want to repeat this process for the rest of the two tables, which I'm going to be using for the tutorial. So if you don't want to watch that, just skip that part. So I want to right click, tasks, import flat file, location. I want the account lookup this time. I want to name it as YouTube account lookup. Click next. This is an account lookup, so everything is going to be nvarchar 250. Much easier than the calendar, this one. Then I want to allow the null values. Click next, finish. So this is done too. And then the last one is going to be flat file is the opportunities data. I want to name it as YouTube opportunity data. Click next. I have a float here and everything else. This is going to be nvarchar 250, just to be safe. So copy, paste, new option, paste. This can be int, then paste, and I want this to be float. Allow null values. Next, finish, and it's successful. So now if I refresh my database, I click refresh, where are we? And then go under tables, I can see that I have 3 new tables. So 3 new raw data that I can start writing query on it. Right. So to start with now, I want to open a new query window. So if I click here where it says new query window, I have this blank window when I can start writing code. Right, so the first thing I want to show now is the shortcut keys. So I'm just going to copy and paste this quickly. This is not a code, I'm just showing you some shortcut keys that are very, very, very useful to know. So Control C, Control plus C is the copy. So if I select all these and click Control and C, and then come down here and click Control and V, I'm copy pasting it. So you can see copy paste, paste, paste all the time. Control X is the cut. Again, you can cut and paste the data, and then Control and Z you can undo if you've done something you don't want to do. It's literally the same as undo. And then F5 is run in SQL. So instead of clicking execute, it's basically if you click F5, it's going to execute the code. If you add these 2 dashes in front of each code, it means that it's commentary, it's not a code. So as you can see, if I type in here, it's not green, and as soon as I add those 2 dashes, it turns the code into commentary straight away. So even if I run this now, it's not doing anything. It says commands successfully because it's just commentary. Right, I'm also going to copy and paste the data types because they are very useful to have. And you can also download this. I'm going to upload this script by the end of the video in the same link as I have my data repository, so you can download the whole code if you wish to. Now I'm going to start with a select query. Right, so I'm going to give it a name, select query. This is how I like to structure my data. And I'm going to start by showing you how to select everything, all the data from our tables. So what we want to write is select all. Asterisk means all, so let's put it here. Asterisk means all the columns basically. And then you type in from, and then the name of the table. So my name is YT opportunities data. SQL is not case sensitive, so you can either type it in lowercase or capitals. It's not going to matter. Something to be aware of is that you need to be connected here on the correct database. If you always want to be connected to the right database, you can just type in use and then the name of the database, so YouTube DB. And then if I run this, it basically at the start of the code, I click F5, it basically means it switches to the YouTube database. If I connect to transactional data database and I run this again, I run the code, it's going to throw me an error because this table exists. You see the error here, it says it cannot find it. It's because it only exists in this database. So if I run the code, if I run this use, quickly changes the database, and then I can run the code here and I can select everything from my table. Right, so the next thing we want to do now is that instead of typing asterisk and selecting all the columns, we can name the columns individually, because maybe we don't want to select all the columns. We might want to select only the first 5 columns. So you can type in select and then new account and no comma opportunity ID, and then say from, and then I'm just going to copy this and paste it. And now I've basically selected the first 2 columns versus the first all the columns. If I run them together, they still work. It's going to separate the screen. So at first I'm going to have the first query, which is all the columns, and then below I'm going to have the second query, which is just the first 2 columns. Right, so the first example now that we want to give, I'm just going to name it as example 1. Is going to be when we have one condition, and that condition is going to be using the equals. So let's say that I want to select everything from my table, so this table where the product category equals services. You can use whatever, but I'm just going to choose services. So what we can do is that we can copy this, paste it down here, and just say select all from the table name, and then type in where the name of the column, product category, equals, oh come on, category equals, and then I can copy this and paste it here. But if I paste it without quotes, it's going to treat services as a column, because here is a column, I'm not using any quotes. If I try and run this, it's going to throw me an error. What I want to do now is I want to add these services into quotations, because it's actually a value within a column. Right, so very useful to see is the number of rows we generated on the bottom right. So I'm just going to add a comment here and type in the number of rows. So it's 1,269 rows that have product category equals services. And then I can also do on the here, on the select all from the opportunities table. Oh, I have it there. I shouldn't have had it there, but it's here. I have the number of rows that I have in the total table. So what we are saying here is that 1,269 rows from the total table have product category equals services, and the total table has around 4,133 rows. Right, so the second example we want to show now, we've shown equals, now we want to show not equals. So assuming I want to select again everything from this table where something is not equals something. So let's choose something. Maybe I want to say where the opportunity stage, I'm choosing this column now, I can choose whichever column I want, is not stage 0. So I can say where opportunity stage not equals, so this smaller and bigger than is the not equals if you add them together. Again, I open codes and I copy stage 0 and I put it stage 0 in here. If I run this now, it returns 3,390 rows, and if we check the opportunity stage, none of them has stage 0, because we excluded basically stage 0 from our table. Right, so this is example 2. So the next thing we want to show is the in. Assuming I want to add stage 0 and stage 1 here, if I use not equals, I cannot add more than one thing in my quotes. So if I try and add comma and add stage 1, 2 here, it's going to throw me an error. So I have to use the in function. So the in function is not a function again. The in query. So I'm just going to copy this. Excuse me, paste it here in, and I want to again copy the whole thing just to show you how it works. Select all from the table where opportunity stage, I'm just going to type it in. And now I open quotes and I can add as many options or as many stages I want here. So I've added 4 here. Let me just select everything. So I just copy them and paste them. So I want to now I say in. So when I run this, I'm going to return everything that has stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. If I run this now, it returns 2,771 rows and all the stages. We are not going to see any stage 4 and 5. It's only the stages we indicated down here. Now the same way we said in, we can have not in. So I can just copy this example, which is example 3. Copy, paste it down here, say this example 4, and I'm showing the not in. So literally I can add no here, not. And what this is going to return now is going to return everything from that table where the stage is not in those stages. So it should only have stage 4 and 5. So as we can see now, we can only see stage 4 and 5. Right. So maybe now we show in or equals, which basically the values have to be exactly the same as what we specified. But maybe, let's say we want to select all phase 1 opportunity names. However, all phase 1 means that we have different characters after phase 1. So we somehow have to only select phase 1 from the whole character. So let me just show you, is the query is called like and not like. So if I use like, let me just put it here. So if I select everything from my table where the new opportunity name, so I'm choosing a different column now to work with, new opportunity name. If I put like, let's try the in first before we put like. If I put in and I type in here phase 1, so you can see the phases, everything starts with phase. So if I put phase 1, and then I close the brackets and run this, it shouldn't return anything. As you can see, it doesn't return anything, just because it's not just phase 1, it has some characters after or before phase 1. So what we can do now is that we can use like, so I'm just going to remove the in and the parentheses. We can use like capitals, and then after each quotation we have to use the percentage sign before and after. So what this percentage says, it searches in between the whole character to find phase 1. So if I run this now, you can see that it returned everything that in between the whole character has phase 1. So now we selected all phase 1 opportunities. Right, so the same way I've done in like, we can do not like, and again it's basically, if I just quickly show it here, not like is going to return everything that doesn't have phase 1 in the whole character. Right, so the next thing we want to show now is which is going to be the example 6, is where we if we have 2 conditions, right? So let's see. Assuming I want to check everything that it has product category equals services, so I'm just going to copy the first condition we had, and I want to add one more condition, which is going to be maybe the stage to be stage 5. So I only want to see the ones the opportunities that are very high in stage. So I can say end opportunity stage equals, and then I add stage 5 in it. So copy, paste. So what this is going to do now, let me just put end here, it's going to even cut the data further down to be just services and just stage 5. So if I run this quickly, we can see that is the product category, as we said, which is our first condition, equals services, and then end, our second condition, is stage 5. So and is when both conditions have to be met. However, we can use or. So or, let me just copy the whole thing and show you how we use or. Or basically means it has to be one condition or the other condition. So what we can say is that the product category can be services. If I change this to or now, the only change that we're going to have is that we're going to bring, let me just run it so it's easier to explain it. So let's take it line by line. So the first line, the product category is services. So it satisfies the first condition, so it pulls the data. The stage is stage 2, but we don't care about the second condition just because we use or and it satisfies the first condition. The second line now, it goes through the first condition. It says stage equals services. It's not services. However, because we say or, so it does not meet the first condition, but it meets the second condition. So now, because it's stage 5, it comes through. Right, so the next example I want to show now is maybe we have, we've used and or, but maybe we want to use them together. So use two conditions here and then add another condition. So the way to do this now, I'm just going to copy this, paste it down here. There's going to be example 8. I'm just going to say this is and or together. Right, so I'm just going to copy this query, paste it down here, run it. So what we said here is that we want both of these conditions to be met. However, maybe let's say when the phase is phase 7, which is, let's say, a very important phase, it doesn't matter about these conditions. I want to bring it in. I still want to see the data if the phase is 7. So what I can do is that I can add the first two conditions into brackets. So it's going to treat them as one condition. And then here I can say or new opportunity name. So new opportunity name, like, I've shown the like. We use like here because phase 1 is in between the characters. And I'm just going to say phase 1, then percentage, then quote, and then what this is going to do now, if I run this, is going to say if it meets, it's going to start by saying if it meets this first condition, then I want to see the data, or if it meets the second condition, I want to see the data. So if I run this, and then let's take it line by line, actually as a phase 1 I should say phase 7, and then rerun this. Right, so let's start with the first line. The product category is support, it's not services, so it doesn't meet straight away, it doesn't meet the first condition, which is in brackets, so it has to be both. But straight away, because the new opportunity name is phase 7, we still see the data. So now you understand, if you want to treat and then or together, maybe you can put all of these as one condition again, and then write more conditions later on by using and then or. So by using the brackets, basically, you can you can close the conditions and treat multiple conditions as one condition. Cool. So the next example now is that we want to show when the by using the bigger or smaller. So obviously we have to use a numeric value now, because we can't say select everything from the table where the product category is more than 200, because this is a character, it's not going to work. So what we can say is where the estimated opportunity value, which we've set it as float, if you remember, when we brought the data in, so we can apply calculations and aggregated functions on it. I can say where estimated opportunity value is more than 50,000, and when I run this, it should only return all the opportunity values that are more than 50,000. As you can see, it's quite a few of them. I can also add this in codes. It's still gonna work. If it's a number, it doesn't matter if you use or don't use codes. So you can see I get the same results back. Same way you use more, we can use the less. So I can just copy this. By the way, this is example 9. And let's just say this is example 10 now. Still one condition, it's not two conditions. So, and just say less. If I say less than 50K, it's only going to return anything that has less than 50K. The next example we want to show is the between, which I assume you understand how the purpose of between is basically, let me just type it here, between. So what this does now, if I say where the opportunity estimate value between, and I can specify here 30K and 50K. If I run this now, anything we see here is in between 30K and 50K. Right, so we've shown all the, let's say, important queries you should know when it comes to where clause. The next thing we want to show now for the end of this video is going to be the where clause with subqueries. So this means that you remember when we brought 3 new different tables. If in account lookup, so if I select everything from account lookup, select all from my account lookup, I can, let's say I want to filter everything from my opportunities. So I want to see all the opportunities that the account falls into the banking sector. So I'm just randomly choosing banking now. Because I don't have sector in my opportunities, oops, sorry, if I click execute, I don't have anywhere where I can filter sector. So the way to do it is to use a subquery in the where clause. So what I can say, so let me just say, this is example 1. And this is where we have one condition from another table, not the same table. And what we can do is we want to say select everything from our opportunity data where, and then I want to say where all these accounts, so the thing that connects the 2 tables together. If I run both of them next to each other, just to show you how we can connect them, is the new account number. You can see we have new account number in both tables. However, the rest of the data for the first table is account data, so things like the industry sector and the segment and then the managers. And then the rest of the data for the opportunities, it has opportunity data. So what I can say is that I want to select everything from my opportunity table where the new account number, where, let's say, new account NO in, and then I can open brackets now, and I can select all. So I can say select all from my account lookup where the sector equals banking. So where sector equals open quotes, copy, paste. Right. So if I run just the subquery now, it's giving me everything. So all the accounts that the sector is banking. And then if I run everything together, it's still going to throw me an error, but I'm going to explain why. It doesn't work because you say only one expression can be specified. So what I need to say here is because I'm looking for new account numbers in this in subquery, and in this in subquery has lots of different columns, it throws me an error. I have to say just select just the new account NOs. So I need to specify the column. Only one column can be in the subquery when I'm using in. If I have more than one column, it's not going to work. So now if I run this, it's going to give me just account numbers. And now in is going to work because it's going to search within those 22 account numbers. So if I run the whole thing now, I can see all the opportunities for accounts that have sector banking. So and these are all the opportunities. Right, so this is an example of one subquery. Another example, which is going to be example 2, is, let's say, again, I want one condition. So I'm going to copy one condition from a different table, but this time I want to use my calendar and I want to select all the opportunities that have fiscal year FY20. So we can follow the same process. So I can say select all, let's just select everything from the calendar first. Select all from, so we can see what kind of columns we have in the calendar and what columns we can use to match them together. So in the calendar, we have all the dates information. So here is where we can find fiscal year FY20 if we scroll down. And then on the first opportunity table, the only column that specifies some sort of date is the estimated completion month ID. So we can use this month ID to match it on this month ID and check the fiscal year. So you get you get my point how you can do these subqueries now. You can say select everything again from our opportunities data where our estimated completion month ID. So estimated completion month ID in the same way we've done in here. And now I want to select all from my calendar where my fiscal year equals, and I'm just going to copy FY20, fiscal year 20, and then I want to close the bracket. So if I just run this now, all the data that it returns is FY20 from the calendar. And then if I say just month ID and run this, month ID, and just run this, I'm going to select, it's going to tell me all the month IDs for FY20. However, you can see a lot of duplication, and the duplication is literally because if I do all, take it back to all, you can see that because it's the whole month and my table is by day, so because it's the whole so it's the whole January, let's say, and my table is by day, I have one month ID by day, so it's returning me about 31 month IDs. So the way to select just the distinct month IDs, so if I go forward to have month ID, what I can do is I can say select distinct, and distinct is basically just going to select the distinct IDs. So I should only have 12 because 1 year should only have 12 months. So now if I run the whole thing together, it's selecting everything from the opportunities where the month ID from the opportunities table is in the month IDs that have fiscal year FY20 from another table. So you get the idea. So the next thing I want to do now is that, let's say this is example 2, and the last example I'm going to show is literally going to be the same as example 2, but maybe we have two conditions. So one condition from another table, FY20, and one condition we can either say from another table or the same table. I'm just going to do it from the same table. So come on, I can't spell it, can't do this. By the way, if you feel like you're getting enough value out of this video, please click that like and subscribe button. I just want to say it now, and I'm going to say it at the end again, sorry, before we finish. And the next thing, so this is our first condition. So we said where estimated completion month ID is in this query, and I want to say and I want to select the values that are more than, let's say, 500,000. So only the big ones. So I can say we are estimated opportunity value, estimated opportunity opportunity value is more than 500,000, isn't it? That's 5 million, 500,000. Right. So if I run this now, it says that the estimated opportunity, not TT. Oops, I click execute. Right, we see no data because probably we don't have that much of opportunities, that much of big opportunities in FY20. If I make it 550,000, we can see one opportunity. So what I've done now is I've selected all the opportunities that belong in the next year and have value more than 50,000. So I can see the big opportunities that I have coming for next year and start focusing. Cool. So this is the end of the first part of the tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or if there is something you think I haven't explained very well and you have a question and you want me to explain it, I can add it in the next video. In the next video, I'm going to be going through, let me just bring this here so we can see what we're going to have in the next video. I'm going to go through the if statements, case statements, update, replace, insert into, delete statements, and all the aggregated functions, which is going to help you aggregate the data. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, please hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, so it's going to help me with the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching.